So as we form up the grid for the second race of the night at Spa-Francorchamps, it is Ivan Anderson starting on reverse grid pole with Sean Bennett starting alongside him. Then comes Tero Tylus and Ryan Sedgwick on the second row of the grid with Matt Cook and Richard Molden on row 3. Then comes Sam Harper and Jose O'Donnell. He could well wrap up the Gold Drivers' Championship in this race with Daniel Snorterland and Lucas Raskovitz completing the top 10. Then comes Alex Stromsma and Mark Greenhill with James Gill and Tim Ellis on row 7, Alexander Doublesberger and Luke Power on row 8, Kyle Power and Stephen Williams on row 9. And then our top 2 from the feature race is Gregoire Gomez and Danny Henny going from 20th place, Alexandros Murifkani, Anil Singh, Mike Stoner, Stephen Taylor, Nick Alexander, Frick Smith, Richard Spanners Ready, and Andrew Sexton completing the order. 28 cars in total, so we've lost one from the feature race. We're about to get underway for the sprint race at Spa. We're underway. It's a very nice start made by Ivan Anderson on the left-hand side of the grid in that yellow car. It looks like Tero Tylus is the aggressor going into La Source, but it's all closed up towards La Source, and Sean Bennett in that green and black car has got the upper hand on the exit of La Source and takes the lead of the race away from Ivan Anderson, the pole sitter. Tero Tylus sits there in third with Matt Cook in the gold car in fourth place. Ryan Sedgwick just behind them as well, as Anderson takes to the grass on the Kemmel and makes contact there with the car of Tero Tylus alongside him. That's put him in the wall, unfortunately. So drama on the opening lap there, but it's still Bennett who leads Matt Cook in now second place. Here we can see as Anderson got onto the grass, and a 3-wide situation there just wasn't going to work, and poor Tero Tylus ending up in the wall on lap 1 in that number 22 machine. Here it is again.
Oh,
Came quite an abrupt stop, didn't it?
Yeah, thankfully he didn't come spearing back across the circuit, because that would have been right into the path of Kyle Power and Danny Henny, who are in 13th and 15th according to our timing tree. It looks like they've got through the first lap relatively unscathed.
Stephen Williams has had the best start of our leaders from the feature race. He's all the way up in 11th place already. Gregoire Gomez is going, but down in 19th place. Not been a super smooth first lap for him. Potentially some contact made, but the car looks okay from what I can see. But he is in a bit of a race of his own at the moment, down in 19th place. So Stephen Williams there, we just saw in 11th place. There is Gomez in 19th place, circling around on his own, and just I can't see any damage to the car, but definitely he's had some sort of dramas on this opening lap, as is to be expected, as Stephen Williams makes his way down the front straight. So at the end of lap 1, it's Bennett who leads Matt Cook, Anderson, and then Ryan Sedgwick, Jose O'Donnell in 5th, Lucas Raskovitz 6th. So the top 2 in the Gold Championship there, still going at it. And then Sam Harper, Mark Greenhill, Richard Molden, James Gill completing the top 10.
And these second reverse grid races are slightly less forgiving, because there won't be any pit stops because the race is not long enough. So if you get damage, you have to live with it for the rest of the race. So they've got to be so careful picking their way through the back markers. We see a couple of them getting very close together. O'Donnell, Anderson and Sedgwick there, dicing through the chicane.
Yeah, Sedgwick dropping back quite quickly now, actually. He's being rather swallowed up by the pack, but that's O'Donnell and Raskovitz certainly up in place there as well. Remember, Raskovitz has to outscore O'Donnell in this race to keep the Gold Championship going to the last round. He is currently ahead by some 26 points, so he needs to outscore it's O'Donnell who needs to outscore him by it is 46 points. Let me read my own notes correctly. It's 46 points the gap, 36 available. So Raskovitz has to outscore O'Donnell by 10 points to keep the championship alive. Well, by 11 really, actually, if we were going to look at count back there, but it's definitely one to look out for. At the moment, it's O'Donnell who leads Raskovitz in 4th and 5th place. We're on board with Anderson in 3rd place there, that yellow car. making its way through the bus stop chicane, looking at the back of Matt Cook. Okay, just looking slightly further down the order, Stephen Williams has got a bit of company now in 10th place because he's got Kyle Power pretty close to him, and Daniel Snorterland is the only car between him and Danny Henney there as well. So the leaders making their way through the pack. Williams is trying to make a move here on Richard Molden towards Eau Rouge. They're going to go side by side all the way up the hill. Williams on the outside line there, and a lot of space had to be given there, a lot of respect between Williams and our race director, actually. And now they're going to go 3 wide down the Kemmel as Kyle Power on the right-hand side tries to find his way through. They both drag past Molden. Williams moves across the nose of Kyle Power, and they're both up a spot. Williams to 9th, Power to 10th.
My goodness, that was close. Absolute impressively racing there between the two of them. Williams there absolutely just throwing caution to the wind. He really wants to get back up the field, and Power following him through. If anything, you got Henney not making as much progress. Maybe that's the pressure of having to do this, to get as many points as possible and not making the risky moves that Williams can.
Yeah, if it were to end like this, it would be 13 points between Power and Gomez going into the final race, but we're only on lap 3 of 9 in a sprint race, and there's still an awful lot of work still to be done. But certainly that less than ideal start for Gomez it means it's not going to go all his own way. He does have to work for this championship, because at the moment Power's taking points away from him. It's 18 points separating them going into this race, and Gomez has got a bit of work to do to try and get back up the order, and Power's certainly going to try and take full advantage of the fact that Gomez has had a less than optimal start. He's gotten away very cleanly. Really, he can either sit behind Williams and follow Williams through when he makes a move, or he can try and clear Williams and get up the field at his own pace. But lap 4 of 9 now, and it's Power in 10th behind Williams in 9th.
So you can just see when we're on the off-board cameras, you can see Gomez in the background, that bright pink BWT livery just flashing through. The problem he's got is that he is in a bit of a pocket of his own. He's got no slipstream to catch. You can just see that big gap there behind Henney, and then a couple of cars there. Gomez right at the back of the field there. So he's not really got anyone to drag him
sorry, Chris,
along.
I'm just going to interrupt you. Go to the lead of the race, because there's been a bit of a melee down at Les Combes. The top 4 tried to go about 27 abreast. Here it is into Les Combes. Oh, punted there by Matt Cook. Was Jose O'Donnell, the gold class leader, who's now losing out to Raskovitz. That's really crucial, and they've come out. Look, they're right in front of our leaders from the previous race. Raskovitz is up in second place. So what happened here? Oh, he's gone into the back of Molden. Unbelievable.
He just caught out because the guys in front of him were all backing up because they were squabbling amongst themselves. Henney just flying into Pouan there, unsighted, right behind Molden, and unfortunately just flipped over the back of him. That is such a shame. As you say, Chris, that is his title over. And Kyle Power now up to P3. This is huge for him, because Gomez still down in 11th. He's going to make a massive, massive indent on that championship lead, Chris.
This is, in half a lap, the championship, two or three of them have completely turned on their heads. Mark Greenhow now leads the race on lap 5 of 9 by 1.5 seconds to Lucas Raskovitz, who's now going to be taking a massive chunk out of Jose O'Donnell for the Gold Class Championship. Remember, it looked like a bit of a formality, that one, but this could really change things. Kyle Power now in 3rd, but having to defend here. Stephen Williams is not going to let Kyle have it all his own way. Remember, championship leader Gregoire Gomez now in 10th place, but Power would certainly close up for this one. So if it were to finish like this, with Power in 3rd, he'd get 32 points. He'd take 11 points out of Gomez's championship lead. But this is far from over, and we're just over half. Well, we're coming up to half race distance, and Power is 3 seconds back from Mark Greenhow, our race leader. I'd say if Power was going to win a race this season, now would be the perfect time for it.
Absolutely would be, but he's got the ever-present, ever-rapid Stephen Williams that we're just following here in that wonderful 97 Arrows livery, crawling all over the back of him, Chris. We're not looking anything like he's lost any pace from that race one. And we saw from Williams how rapid he was towards the end. You know, in that first stint, we kind of saw him drop away, but he had more fuel. And here he comes. He's dragging himself up on that slipstream up into the bus stop chicane coming up shortly, Chris.
Yeah, we've seen the top guys work together in the past to try and get themselves back up the order. Doesn't look like anything's happening here as Williams is ducking, diving, weaving now on the inside into the bus stop chicane. He takes third place away from Kyle Power, who now could well find himself under pressure from James Gill, the silver class leader there. That was such a lovely move from Stephen Williams. He couldn't pick a side under braking, but just then bam up the inside. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
And Power has to treat Williams like the back end of a donkey because he's not got anything to lose, and Kyle Power has everything to lose. We're riding on board with Gill now just behind Power, and this is actually very interesting for the Silver Championship as well, because Gill is just one place ahead of Snortland in 5th and 6th, so that is a fantastic battle. That is the closest championship, because on paper at the beginning of this race they were only 8 points apart. So there is Gill in that black livery, and then just behind him Snortland in the blue and black and white livery there. They're getting very, very close, so keep an eye on these two. There could be some fireworks coming up.
Yeah, so right behind Kyle Power is the Silver Class Championship battle unfolding between them. That's certainly going to go down to the wire unless something terrible befouls one of these two cars in the remaining 3.5 laps or so. And then we've got Richard Molden just behind them as well. So this is fascinating stuff. And I'll say as well that squabble between Williams and Power, it has delayed Williams a little bit in terms of trying to get up to the race lead, because the gap between third place and the leader is still hovering around 2.5 seconds. So he's got it all to do if he wants to take the win in this race. Power's got to try and hang on here for all he possibly can. And meanwhile, he's going to be seeing that Gomez is kind of making his way up the order. So at the moment, it's Power slipping back, Gomez moving back up the order, and that points deficit that Gomez is losing is reducing with seemingly every lap at the moment. But we'll see how things unfold. There is Gomez, championship leader. So in 8th place there, he'd get 23. He'd only be losing 7 to Power if things remained as they are. But again, we'll keep an eye out on that throughout the rest of the race. So 3 laps to go, and it is Mark Greenhow leading by just half a second as Gomez sets the fastest lap of the race in clean air there. Actually, he's the next car. We can see Molden at the back of that queue. Gomez is the next car, 1.8 behind that. And behind them for the Silver Class battle there in 5th place. It's all happening as they're side by side are Gill and Snortland. So Snortland there with the blue car on the left-hand side as we're looking at it, going towards the inside. And this is going to be very brave indeed. They're side by side through Les Combes. This is to decide the championship battle there, and they're inches away from each other, and just James Gill is able to hang on the exit of Malmedy, and then turns in nice and confidently in front of Daniel Snortland there. James Gill hangs on to 5th place, and crucially that Silver Class lead.
Absolutely astonishing defence there from Gill, hanging it round the outside. Beautiful stuff, giving each other just enough room. I love to see this, Chris, and as I say, a couple of laps to go. This championship is going down to the wire.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just try and finish up what I was saying a second ago. Mark Greenhow's leading by just half a second to Lucas Raskovitz. Stephen Williams has brought that deficit to him down to 1.3 seconds, and then Kyle Power about 3/4 of a second behind him. And then that battle we were just watching for 5th place between James Gill and Daniel Snortland. This is for the lead of the race though, with Lucas Raskovitz. And if he really wanted to rub salt in the wound here to Jose O'Donnell, his championship rival, he'd want to go for the win and bag those extra 2 points that you get for the win in the sprint race.
It's all well and good settling for second, but the problem is when you've got every point counts in such a close championship, you really do have to go for it at this last moment. You can't hang back. So on board with Raskovitz now heading down the hill towards Eau Rouge. Let's see if this is the lap with 2 laps to go, or is he going to sit back this time around, because he's not under pressure from Williams behind. So let's see, he's well within that slipstreaming window. We'll see down the end of the straight whether he decides to just hang back or whether he's going to go for one last go in the final lap.
He's closing in, isn't he? He's not quite close enough to do anything with it into Les Combes. So, lap and a half to go. And Greenhow surely will be thinking about the fact that Raskovitz is there. And maybe on that last lap, Stephen Williams can just throw his hat into the ring as well. He's 1.3 back from Raskovitz as it stands. Carl Power now had a bit of a race of his own, 1.3 back from Williams, 1.9 ahead of Gill. And now, interestingly, Gregoire Gomez has dropped down to 9th place, and taking a look at him, he's got front wing damage. So something has happened to Gregoire Gomez on that previous lap or so. He's lost a place, and it seemed like, well, he's going to lose another one here because he's got no front end with that front wing damage. He's lost out now to Sam Harper and down into 10th place. And I'm just being told in my ear, he dropped it in Eau Rouge with the DRS open. So Gomez, ever the risk taker, and we always talk about risk versus reward, and we said it wasn't over in terms of the championship. The championship leader is now slipping down. He's outside of the top 10 now, and suddenly this is a gift for Kyle Power, who's still sitting there in 4th place and will be taking more and more points out of Gomez with every position that Gomez loses. 1 lap remains now. And, well, let's turn our attentions back to the front of the field as we're now on that last lap. Mark Greenhow, Lucas Raskovitz, Stephen Williams separated by 1 second as they go through Eau Rouge for the final time. Down the Camel Straight we go. Greenhow not feeling the need to go defensive just yet. Potentially they've burned through the DRS already. Raskovitz getting himself up to 2nd place. Williams trying to fight his way through the order, having started in 18th as a result of the reverse grid format, but still nothing separates the top 3 on this last lap. Carl Power not in a position to challenge for this one, as he's about 1.5 seconds back. And so as they make their way out of Speaker's Corner once more, it is still Greenhow who leads by 0.5 seconds, who's soaking up this pressure. Raskovitz in a prime position here. He's going to be taking a huge chunk out of his gold championship rival, but he wants that win, and so does Stephen Williams.
Gomez loses another place there to Frick Smith, down to 12th place. That is about as far as he'll go there, because he's got about a 10-second gap back to Luke Power in 13th. But back to the front here, Chris, we got Raskovitz behind Greenhow and Williams prowling behind. Let's see what they do into the final corner.
Well, if they've saved up any DRS, it will be deployed here, and it does look like it's closing up. Now we saw 7/10 wasn't quite enough for Gomez to challenge heading into the bus stop, but it was a bit less than that at a curve pull for Greenhow and Raskovitz. But I don't think Raskovitz is going to be quite close enough to challenge Greenhow, who is now navigating that final chicane. And Mark Greenhow exits that chicane now and takes victory in the sprint race at Spa-Francorchamps. Lucas Raskovitz, the Gold Championship title is not over just yet, and Stephen Williams, for the 2nd time tonight, finishes in 3rd place. Kyle Power in 4th and takes a big chunk out of Gregoire Gomez's championship lead. The title is going down to the wire. And that is Mark Greenhouse. Oh, sorry, go on, Chris.
I was about to say, we've got Spanners in the commentary booth who probably had a very interesting view of that run up Eau Rouge. Oh, he's ducked out. Maybe he's not able to talk it. He's having some server issues, so apologies for that. But I think so. Spanners will have seen what happened there, because so Gomez lost it through Eau Rouge and went into the wall. So that is absolutely disastrous for his title. That being said, though, Chris, it does set him up with a rather advantageous race 3 grid position.
It certainly does, and we've got our race winner in the commentary box with us now. Mark, you've done it. First win of the season.
Oh, it feels like it's been a long time coming. Thank you very much.
Just talk us through that race. I mean, you obviously there was a big melee going on at Les Combes there in the middle of the race. How did you find your way through it?
I would just pick my way through, a little bit of luck, a little bit of judgment. I've had the pace in this car all season. I was always relying on something happening, though, for me to grab a win. But yeah, got there, last race of the season.
Well, nicely done. And just tell us, obviously you had Raskovitz in your mirrors for most of that race, actually. How was the pressure from behind?
I was shaking. My knees were shaking. I was absolutely terrified. I had a really bad lap, and then luckily I had enough DRS just to keep him behind me until the end.
All right, well, great stuff, Mark. Congratulations. First win of the season. Good luck for the finale.
Thanks, man.
All right, great stuff there. Let's take a look at the results then from the second race of the night, the first sprint race at Spa. Mark Greenhow takes his first win of the season, and Lucas Raskovitz slashes the Gold Championship lead with a second place finish. Stephen Williams for the second time tonight on the podium, and Kyle Power takes the championship overall to the last race of the season. Daniel Snorterland ended up victorious in the Silver Class Championship, closes up ever so slightly on James Gill. That is one to look out for as well. So we've got all three titles going down in the top 10. As we look a little bit further down, we've got Frick Smith and Gregoire Gomez down in 12th place. That means he'll be starting in around 8th, 9th place for the finale, so ahead of Kyle, crucially, but he'll have nephew Luke alongside him as well. Andrew Sexton, then Alex Dobertsberger, championship over for him by the looks of it, down in 15th. Nick Alexander, Danny Henny, championship over for him as well, 17th place, but a good starting position for the final race. Then Alex Jonesma, Sean Bennett and Mike Stoner will start on reverse grid pole for the next race. Championship finale is coming up next. Do not go anywhere.